We're not allowed to know. Lauren Coleman. The local headline screamed, "Couples see man-sized bird creature, something. Monster, no joke for those who saw it. Gigantic fuzzy bird chases Otto and Storm." No, this is not a Samuel Arkoff B horror production. This was real, or possibly real, anyway. The time was 1966 in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and something very strange was happening. More than 100 people reported seeing a 9-foot-tall, black-winged creature with glowing red eyes. Some say it spoke to them and forewarned of an impending disaster in their town, a small farming community at the intersection of the Ohio and Colorado rivers. 1 year later, their worst fears were realized when the bridge over the Ohio River connecting Point Pleasant to Ohio collapsed, and 47 people died. Mothman, as the best was known by locals. The best, or the worst, the beast, was never seen or heard from again. There were a lot of people who just don't want to talk about it anymore, either because they're traumatized or they don't want to press attention. Says Jeffrey Wamsley, a Point Pleasant native and author of Mothman, The Facts Behind the Legend. People were pretty much scared out of their wits. The story of the strange season in Point Pleasant was chronicled by journalist John A. Keel in his 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies. The book is now a movie. Could this be a man, a voice, a light, or a monster? Pendleton said. Many of these things we don't answer. That was the appeal to me, the ambiguity of the unanswered questions. We wanted to play it straight and strip out any melodrama or kookiness. Keel, who has seen the movie, said he thought Richard Gere does a great job of gradually going nuts. Now, 72 and still writing books and articles from his home in New York City, he says, "I didn't go nuts, but I was very upset. When the bridge collapsed, it was pretty distressing. I was determined I was going to find the answers to this. As I progressed, I became more and more baffled. It took a long time for me to realize that I was dealing with something that the human mind could not understand. There are many things that we will never know." Indeed, nobody knows what those people saw on that dark West Virginia night, but for the folks who say they saw the strange, malevolent creature, whatever it was, their lives were never the same. It began in mid-November 1966 when two couples parked at an old World War II munitions dump site that the locals called TNT. They say they were chased by a large creature. They reported the incident to the police, and the sightings continued from there. Some said the creature called them to ground. Others suffered from bleeding eyes after they saw it. Many never slept well again. It did not help to calm the fears when the town's investigative reporter, Mary Heyer, who had devoted much ink to the Mothman, suddenly died. One theory is that people saw a huge sandhill crane that veered off course. Another is that it was a giant mutated owl. And others say the people in Point Pleasant succumbed to mass hysteria. I believe that some people saw something. It was probably a bird, said Hildia Austin, 58, who lived near the Mothman sightings and is currently the head of the Point Pleasant Chamber of Commerce. Some say it was just a hoax. It could have been something spawned by the toxic ground from the TMT area. Some of the eyewitnesses were on drugs. I thought it was a hoot when this happened. Everyone just sort of laughed at it. They just thought it was preposterous. But others, like cryptozoologist and author Lauren Coleman, said there was a history of this kind of lore in the Ohio River Valley. The Native American tribes of the area had a long history of chronicling stories about thunderbirds, large birdman-like figures that were always harbingers of woe. A lot of people want to make fun of Mothman because it's poor white Appalachia people. But I try to put it into context, says Coleman, who wrote the book Mothman and Other Curious Encounters. The Inquiris and Tuscarora and the Wyandot tribes, called the Flying Heads and Big Heads. They were exactly like the Mothman headless creatures with big red eyes. David Grabius, who was hired by the studio to make a Mothman documentary that will air on the FX channel today, said he was convinced the locals saw something frightful. When I first heard about it, I thought, oh, it's West Virginia. There's a bunch of hicks drinking too much hoots in them mountains, said Grabius, who produced the Emmy-nominated documentary Why Dogs Smile and Chimpanzees Cry. But the more people we talked to, the more we felt a sense there was a feeling of something strange and to let sleeping dogs lie. The people were very believable. Pellington says Mothman follows a pattern of the unexplained, which makes rational modern society ill at ease. I believe in things greater than us that are unexplained, he says. The mysteries of life are so profound. That is why the legend and other kinds of mythology exist. I feel it keeps us human. Many locals were upset the movie was not filmed in Point Pleasant itself. It was shot in Kiddington, Pennsylvania, but it was a large enough town to accommodate cast and crew. In addition, Pellington needed to shut down the local bridge for 2 months during filming, something the economy in Point Pleasant could not sustain. Instead of running from the Mothman legacy, Point Pleasant locals are embracing it. A thriving port city at the turn of the century, Point Pleasant has been suffering from a slow economy. For a slew of slow economies for many years. Without jobs, most of the young people leave to find a better way of life. Mothman, they are hoping, will bring them better fortunes. Chamber of Commerce sold Mothman Christmas ornaments this year, and another local creator, Mothman beanbag toys, which sold like hotcakes, according to Austin. They don't seem to fear being placed in the pantheon of strange places like Roswell or Loch Ness. We are hoping that it will do something that will help our economy, said Austin. We don't understand what the fascination is. This is new popularity, as the Mothman started before the movie. We don't care. We just hope it will help us out. Unfortunately, the more elaborate article that actually was our report, and this was an 8th grade graduation project. So we were literally like 12 years old, maybe 13 years old. And we've got some things that happened to us. So essentially, it was our brother and I, both of us. We decided we would do our graduation projects, the culmination of our middle school experience. And we would create a project on the Mothman. Now, T-Pat, our brother, went a slightly different direction with his, and he actually ended up seeking mental help because of a series of events that proceeded to rock our world. One that stands out the most was one night when we got just getting right there. That was a phone call from the number 129. 129, and essentially we would answer, and it was similar to the movie. There was some weird white noise going on, some static, some strange sounds, no voices, no audible entity that was identifiable. However, this was probably, 2006 or something like that. And when we took the battery out of the phone, within a minute, the phone rang again from this number 129. Obviously, that shook us up pretty damn hard. Now, 129 has essentially been the numerological value that has followed us, has followed not only us personally, it has followed our brother T-Pat, who also did this project. It has followed anyone that we've really made aware of this. So that would be our friends, our ex-partners, people, our parents, sister. They are all familiar with the legendary 129. And we have come to devote quite a lot of our mental capacity into understanding just what 129 is supposed to represent. We do feel that we've come to somewhat of a conclusive finding that we will not go into in this video. It is quite baffling. As far as the Mothman, we've never seen him. We know that talking about him tends to bring strange things that will happen. If you start seeing the numbers 129, 921, 291, essentially it's the numbers 1, 2, and 9, and any value 621, because 6 is essentially 9. Our eyes actually see everything upside down and flip it. Therefore, 6 would be 9, and so 621 or 126. All of these are variants of the numerological hierarchical value of 129. In other words, we've come to consider this somewhat of a twist on the Trinity, if you will. We're not sure why this is in here, but I guess we will end the video reading a Playboy party joke. So Al Gore and Bill Clinton were discussing premarital sex. Gore said to Clinton, "I never slept with my wife before we were married. Did you?" "I don't know," said Clinton. "What's Tipper's maiden name?" I get it. A man walked into a department store and said to the saleswoman, "Excuse me, I'd like to buy some gloves for my wife, but I don't know her size. Will this help?" says the woman, putting her hand in his. "Why, yes, her hands are slightly smaller than yours. Is there anything else I can do for you?" "Why, now that you mention it, she also needs a bra." Yeah, these are pretty bad. These are really bad. Why do hunters make the best lovers? They go deep into the bush, shoot more than once, and eat what they shoot at. Do you hear about the new gay sitcom? Yeah, it's called Leave It, It's Beaver. That one's not bad. That's not bad. We've heard this one, of course. Why is the space between a woman's breasts and her hips called a waist? Because you could easily fit another pair of tits there. Yes, we didn't come up with these. These are the apparently in a misogynist handbook, something like that. But we'll leave you with one more. Let's see here. What do you call it when you cross a freeway with a bicycle? Killed.